All right, so we've talked about object-oriented programming in our little introduction there. And we've talked about variables before. We're now going to talk about how we can assign an object to a variable, because remember, variables are just containers. And guess what objects are? They're just another type of data that we can assign to a variable. So we're going to dive into Codesters here, and we're going to assign some variables, some objects to variables. Let's go ahead and try that out. So I'm going to start a new project here. I'm going to go ahead here and create a sprite, and I'm going to go down here. I think I'm going to find something kind of interesting. Let's go to our alien sprites. Maybe we want to, or space sprites, maybe we want an astronaut. Let's go ahead and try an astronaut there. So I have my astronaut kind of being made there. Now you might notice there's that equals sign, that equals operator. That's assigning it to the variable right before it, and that is the sprite. And you might notice that if we bring up another one of these objects, they're all coordinated to sprite, which is a little bit of a problem. Because if we name the variables the same, what we're just telling the Python, and in this sense Codesters, to do is assign the astronaut sprite to this sprite variable, and then we're immediately after that saying take that sprite variable and instead put the alien in it. And so it replaces. And now we can no longer really touch or access the astronaut object anymore. So it's really important that we give these descriptive names. Names that we'll be able to tell in the future what these are, so we're not having to constantly look at when they were assigned and what value they were given, but also so that we don't accidentally reuse a name and thus overwrite an assignment. So let's go ahead here, and I'm going to say this is going to be, how about we keep sprite, and we're going to call this astronaut. Sprite astronaut. And I'm going to use that underscore, and notice it's still the same variable convention as we learned earlier. So this one's going to be alien. And now when I run my code, it's going to create those two objects. So you'll see there we go. We got our astronaut, and it's covered by our alien because the alien happens as the second line. So it is the second thing that happens. And so it kind of happens on top of it. Now you might be wondering, how can we move these around? Well, in the next activity we will be doing that. But before you go on to the next one, make sure you try this out. Submit your code below. Maybe play around with a few different sprites. Maybe try out shapes too. Don't forget shapes can be done with this too. So maybe make a little cool scene and go ahead and add it to the understanding challenge. So see you in the next activity.